Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. So I think this topic deserves a second pass. I did try and bring it up recently in a video about the current state of Classic. I'd like to expand on that a bit more today. We really need some action from Blizzard on the current state of servers that are locked and layered. I had actually more or less completed this video yesterday. I just wanted to wait for Friday when I usually upload, as well as to do some census checks in the evening on locked versus unlocked servers, which at that point in time they should have had a pretty active population. But as of last night for me, server locks have now gone. There hasn't been an official announcement from Blizzard yet, and well, the damage caused is pretty evident. Several servers which had queues before the locks are now medium population. It also appears you cannot transfer to any of the previously locked servers as well, and that they are only allowing new players to join these realms, which with a queue in Phase 5 coming soon, I can somewhat understand. We also still have layers enabled as well, despite having a massively fallen off population. I'd really like some communication from Blizzard on what's going on here. This is a pretty huge change to the state of many servers. What is the thought process going on this moving forwards? Anyways, I'm going to leave the rest of the video as it was when I did it originally, because despite the locks now being gone, I hopefully bring up some learning points and several other things to consider for future use of server population control. And of course the fact that, well, surely this cycle is just going to repeat itself in the long term as well. So looking back now, layers were put in following Blizzard actually asking players for input on doing this, believe it or not. And this was following more and more players coming over to already high population servers, as well as our ongoing situation worldwide. Honestly, I'd kind of get used to layers, not to try and present an excuse for them existing now, but if TBC is ever going to be a thing, server populations are already this high, and we already need layering. Wait till the world is so much smaller, dailies are a thing, and the more competitive battle groups emerge. Anyway, I really didn't expect that layering would still be about now. Blizzard themselves had hoped to see it be a thing of the past a few weeks after release, or for sure by Phase 2. Yet here we are closing in on 1 year of Classic, and layering is still as prevalent as it was in the early days. Personally, I'd take layering over queues from mid-afternoon on the weekend and late afternoon on weekdays, especially considering you more or less have to be at or around your PC to move your character about once every 20 minutes just to be on the safe side. And having that constant thought at the back of your mind that you have to log in really early on raid days and make sure you stay logged in. I remember that when queues were back again, I had to log in around 3 to 4 PM to avoid the queues on weekends for raids. And once you're on, you have to make sure you stay on. It's just really annoying. I'd rather not have to go back to that ever, to be honest. And don't get me wrong, the game shouldn't have it ideally, but if it's this or queue, I'll take the second layer. What is more concerning, however, far more concerning, are these server locks. Now, these were put in at the end of May to try and control population of certain servers which were spiraling ever more and more out of control. Also, this change coincided with the Black Lotus spawn rate changes, so not only do big servers get some breathing room, but people who had farmed hundreds of Lotus on dead servers couldn't make that quick transfer to try and offload their goods. And at the time, I was really happy that Blizzard did this. I even suggested that they did this. I think most people were overall happy about the gesture that was being made by Blizzard here in initially locking the servers. But as it's gone on and on, even now we're seeing some servers which have been unlocked are coming out the other end showing us medium population, which is more than just a little bit spooky in my opinion. We're coming up on 2 months of server lock soon, and it's really starting to show the damage that it's causing. The server locks need to go now. It's not working as a long-term solution to overpopulation. I mean, it's only been close to 2 months. This isn't even long-term yet. I'd still call it sort of more medium-term in the scheme of things. And I'm sure I'll hear arguments that these large servers already have a much larger player base whilst being locked than plenty of other healthy smaller population servers. But simply put, there are a lot of guilds that are bleeding players amongst many other issues. And just to outline a few of these kinds of issues that are occurring, there's no new players that can join, obviously. Not just transfers, there's no new leveling players. If people are leveling, it's always an alt, or the very rare person who just randomly had a character on the server and never used it yet. Leveling zones are very much empty. Even at peak times, there are just a handful of players engaging in open world questing. Dungeons are more or less off limits if you aren't boosting. Everybody in there is an alt. Everybody has a main that has gold. Everyone's happy to pay to get to the end game. The leveling journey is very lonely at the moment. There are next to no low-level resources entering the auction house from leveling characters. No transfers to the server means we have a slow falling off of the endgame player base over time. We're getting to a point where guilds will start to fall apart, leave or merge with other guilds soon enough. This is the start of what really kills a server. Of course, there are player dips in between content phases, this is fine, but as people leave, nobody new can join. It's slowly draining the raiding and PvP player bases. Give it enough time, people will transfer off. And no, I don't believe that that's the end goal of Blizzard here. I just think the lock has sort of been overlooked for a while now. The whole world feels empty. There are few players in major cities unless a buff is being dropped, and even then there's not that many. And on top of this, we are also layered for some reason. Speaking from experience playing on Gehenna's EU as an alliance, and yes, we are the minority faction on our server for sure, but it's been a very noticeable downward trend over the past few weeks. I get that server population is for sure a large issue, and honestly, when the servers were locked, it was a good thing, from me especially. I'm not forcibly against server locks being used in certain circumstances, but it's become quite clear now that having them on for more than a few weeks starts to really hurt the server's player base. Whatever the long-term solution to server population is, it's not locking them and leaving them to die. Because I really didn't want to get melodramatic about this, but locked servers are in the process of dying at the moment, especially when they are also layered. But hang on, Phase 5 is coming very soon. This will surely boost the population up again by a huge amount. Absolutely, it will do. Maybe even enough to justify having layering, though I'm somewhat skeptical at this point. We don't know how Blizzard will do the AQ opening still. They tested it on one layer, and it was about as laggy as expected. I don't think anyone's expecting a miracle with this, but they've already broken the one world boss rule. Will there be 2 gongs on a number of servers? I can appreciate layering staying on. If we have big servers, people need to be able to get on and just play the game, not worry about going AFK for 30 minutes to go and have dinner before their raid, and being logged and missing the raid for that week, or the whole other plethora of issues that can arise. Maybe layering is just here to stay now, though I do find it harder to agree with it given how much the player base has fallen off on previously large servers. You can bet the moment these servers unlock, there will be an absolutely massive amount of traffic instantly from transfers, newer players, people transferring over with items, and of course our good friend the bots. I think the server locks have been here for more than enough time now. I'm not even exaggerating that there is next to nobody leveling in the open world anymore. It's just people raid logging or leveling alts through boosting or gold farming. There is very little low level end resources on the auction house, and guilds are starting to struggle to keep their rosters going without taking players from other guilds that are falling apart. It's a matter of time before guilds straight up start to leave. This wouldn't have happened without the server lock. Does it look like Blizzard has pretty much forgotten Classic here? Or is there something else going on as well, perhaps? I'm not going to lie, it looks like a little bit of both, to be honest. Remember back before any of this, when Blizzard offered free transfers that really messed up some servers like Incendius on NA, and then shortly after that, layering was back, and then finally the server locks. Blizzard have tried to remove layers on a bunch of servers already, and found that it needs to be turned back on within the week. I think we may just be seeing Blizzard perhaps being a bit overly cautious, especially with Phase 5 coming soon. So what would I like to be done? I think the server locks can go, they just need to be removed. We have seen Blizzard only prevent server transfers in the past if they don't want to entirely remove the locks. At least let people make new characters for the time being, so we can get a little bit more life out into the open world and some new faces on the server, rather than having the entire player base stagnate. I'd actually quite like some communication about the possibility of a multi-layer AQ opening. If layers are intended to be off for that, it's gonna have to happen fairly soon. If the AQ opening will be layered, then we need to look into server population a few weeks afterwards and see where, if possible, layering can be removed at that point in time. There's definitely a risk that if both the lock and the layer are removed, that the population on certain servers will absolutely explode. If we can do things gradually and see how it goes, that would be the best approach in my opinion. Speaking from experience on my server, I could certainly see layering not being a thing anymore, Then again, we don't have faction queues or anything in Classic, so it's easy for me to say that as the minority faction. Speaking of which, there is a larger issue here really, which has caused all of this to happen in the first place. Server overpopulation. How did Blizzard stop it from getting worse and worse again? I just mentioned faction queues, but honestly, I don't like them as an idea. Not everybody rolling Horde or Alliance on a few servers did so for the racials or the min-max possibility. A lot of people just play Horde, like they do on retail really. A choice between playing your less preferred faction or sitting in a queue doesn't seem like a great choice to force people to make for me. Free transfers didn't work. Server locks aren't working. Layering is pretty much all we have in terms of a band-aid at the moment, and I'm just going to give it a mention here because I'd expect a bunch of people asking why isn't this an issue in retail, because there are absolutely some massive servers that never have queues, like servers that are way bigger than anything we have in Classic. Simply put, it's down to cross-realm technology and sharding. What this means is the game will attempt to distribute players from different servers onto different shards. So even though one server may have 10,000 players online and another has 1,000, server A's player base may fit onto 10 shards for Stranglethorn Vale, whilst all the people from server B fit onto one shard. You can pretty much run into anybody from any different server at any point in the open world. If this is the case, then why does it matter being on a bigger server? The economy, some items you farm actually will sell on the auction house, guild reasons, mythic raids are not opened on Crossrealm until they've been out for so often. There's a bunch of reasons. Sharding is different from layering in that it takes players from all servers and balances them between zones and can change to accommodate player numbers. Layering takes players exclusively from your server and puts them onto a very rigid, non-dynamic second layer. Apart from roleplay servers, they don't have shards as far as I'm aware, or big RP events would get split up by the game's tech. I just wanted to cover that for clarity, not saying it's the answer or anything, just in case you were curious about it. Because going through server growing and then something like a lock happening to reduce the population back down again as a cycle isn't really something I'd like to see happen to any other server ever again. And Classic really isn't compatible with sharding for so many reasons. So what's the solution to this? Well, I can't think of anything that people would actually like. I mean, you could give incentives to roll on smaller servers, reduce costs to transfer there. I'm kind of short on ideas here, really. I mean, retail has gone in the direction that it has for a reason, and in Classic, it's even more important to be on an active server, to be honest. Hit me up below. I'm really interested to see some creative solutions. And actually realistic stuff too. I better not read just forced transfer people, okay? Anyways, I do hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video very soon. If you like what you see, give the video a like and subscribe as there'll be plenty more to come. Take care guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.